Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Haynes. I'm the Chief of Operations with the Charleston County Emergency Management Department. To my right, I have Chairman Elliott Summy, Councilman Johnson, and Louise from the Red Cross. To my left, I have Jason Patno, the Director, and Chief Mitch Lucas with the Sheriff's Office. We appreciate you coming so we can update our citizens what's going on and what the county is doing to take care of them, if you will. One thing I do want to announce that as of right now, Charleston County is going back to OPCON 1. That doesn't mean that we will have a full 24-hour operation in the EOC as of today, but that may change tomorrow, okay? But what we want to do is we want to ask the citizens that live along the Edisto and Santee rivers, and those that may be vulnerable to the flooding that could be caused by either one of those rivers, we want them to keep an eye on the water levels, okay? We're hearing that they could increase. We just don't know when and how much, okay? County leaders are urging the citizens to leave those homes that may be vulnerable to the flooding, and if the situation gets worse, and relocate to another area, okay? The areas likely to be impacted by the Edisto River, but is not limited to Parker's Ferry Road and in Adams Run, Highway 17 near the Charleston County, Colleton County line, and portions of Jacksonboro. Okay, the Santee River, the impacted areas could include the South Santee and Germantown areas. Okay, the severity of the flooding, like I mentioned, is unknown. But we want people to keep an eye on those water levels, and we encourage and urge folks to leave if they feel that they are not safe where they are and could be impacted by any flooding from either one of those rivers. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Chairman Summy.
Thank you, Kathy. And first of all, let me start off by saying how proud we are, and then speak for Ms. Johnson and all of County Council and all of our emergency staff, all of our first responders, and the coordination and the job they've done with the Sheriff's Office, with EMS, with Charleston County Rescue, and with all of our municipal partners here in Charleston County, and with Berkeley and Dorchester and the state. It's been a very large effort, and one that has been really pleasing to my eyes and ears, and watching how hard our staff has worked to be prepared to protect our citizens. Our emergency management and first responders have the full support of County Council. We will provide every resource available to our crews to keep all of our citizens safe. I am pleading with our citizens in the affected areas that Kathy mentioned to heed and hear our warnings. We want everyone to remain safe. We've been watching what's going on throughout South Carolina. We know we've got a decent idea of what is coming from to the Edisto and the Santee, and we're encouraging folks to stay safe and use common sense, and as waters come, to get out of the way and get somewhere safe. We've been very fortunate in Charleston not to have had any deaths or real injury to any of our citizens or our first responders, and we want to keep it that way. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Kathy.
Okay, thank you. If I could, I just want to reiterate the locations again. Those areas that could potentially be impacted by the Edisto River, but it's not all inclusive, but some of the areas are Parker's Ferry Road, which is in Adams Run, Highway 17 near the county lines between Charleston and Colleton, and of course portions of Jacksonboro. For the Santee River, again, it's the South Santee community and the Germantown community. Okay? So I guess we'll entertain a few questions at this time. Okay, I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mitch.
That's all right. Some of these communities have already seen National Guards and sheriff deputies out there knocking on doors, asking them to consider leaving. A lot of them have, especially along the Parker's Ferry area. But we don't know. There's no specifics on how the water's going to get. You always hear, "Well, I've lived through other floods. This one is probably going to be worse than anybody that lived out there at the time." So we need to make sure that they understand there is a danger with this water that they may not have seen before, and there's a reason we're out there. The National Guard has provided 2 contingencies. We have a command post set up on Highway 17 close to Parker's Ferry. We have, I think, 30 guardsmen there and a slew of sheriff's office personnel and EMS personnel. We're gonna do the same thing in McClellanville. We'll have a command post there, again, with 30 National Guardsmen and a slew of sheriff's office and EMS personnel. They bring in some equipment, some vehicles that can get into areas that we don't have. And we'll have them at both points. We hope that we don't have to do any rescues. We're trying to get everyone to understand what Kathy and the chairman said. Nobody's died in Charleston County yet. We need to keep it that way. But we've got to remember that this truly is a dangerous situation in some parts of the county, and we're going to treat it as that way. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take some questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, will people be allowed in and out of their neighborhoods, or is it essentials only?
Mitch?
No. And that's an important point on this. This is not going to be, I think, how we understand these things, it's difficult to understand the situation because we've not dealt with it too many times. Once they come out of their house, they may be out for more than 5 days. This water is going to come in and stick around and then leave. And once they come out, they probably will not be able to go back in. If after the water crests and we see where the dry areas are, of course those folks will go back in. But if there is a dangerous situation in an area where a home's been evacuated, they won't be allowed to go back in. And we have heavy patrols of the houses that have already been emptied out there with deputy sheriffs and National Guard. So we're protecting once a domicile is emptied, we're doing everything we can to protect that domicile.
Somebody else had a question?
I was saying, if the rivers are flooding, like how far out from the rivers are people in danger? You know, what
Well,
did you say, within a mile, within 2 miles? Is there any way we can, you know?
That's kind of hard to really pinpoint it that way because of the topography of the area. You know, there's ups and downs in the area around there, so we don't know how far it's going to spread out, or how long it's going to be that way. So it's just that part is hard to say how much area is going to be covered by the flood.
We're still studying it. It's to be defined as we gather more information, as we get that information from our partners.
And when do you expect it roughly, I mean, to start, the rising, you know, flooding?
We have already started. The water started coming up. Martin's Landing on Parker Ferry Road, I believe the last word we got was at the road, it's 6 feet deep right now, approximately. And that's at the boat landing, but it's already started. And that's why the purpose for this press conference is to get everybody to understand it's time to move now.
Okay.
Is there any indication at all that there could be harmful bacteria levels, things like that in the standing water? Since it's hot, there's things that are running off, obviously snakes and glass and other things can be in the waters, but.
And there's always that potential. We do have a lot of natural critters, if you will, in our county and in areas like that, and they don't like to get wet either. So they're going to find high ground too. As far as the bacteria, it's always discouraged that people get out and walk around any more than they have to in that type of flooding situation, because there's always that possibility of some bacteria and some things in there that's really not as harmful to the people and stuff.
Can you say again where those command posts are and what they will be doing?
The one down south is at the highway department has loaned their facility on Highway 17 south of Bradell. There's a lot over on the left as you're going down. And in McClellanville at the Magistrate's Court Fire Department area, there's the entire area will be
Allendale Fire Department.
Allendale Fire Department in McClellanville.
Right.
Okay.
Allendale Fire Department, but in McClellan.
Yes, ma'am.
They have a station in McClellanville that also houses the magistrate court, and that's where they're going to be.
Technically, it's the Allendale McClellanville Fire Department.
I got it, okay. And what happens out of those command posts?
We stage equipment there. An ambulance will be staged there, I'm sure, and we'll send out resources to go through the area, perform different functions, but they can't stay out there for 12 hours. So we'll be rotating them back in, letting them get some rest, and just running emergency operations to evacuate people if necessary.
And it's National Guardsmen and sheriffs.
And EMS, I mean,
And
EMS
EMS.
plays a key role in this.
And rescue.
Yes.
What are items that you would recommend that people really need to take with them when they
Well,
leave their
this is
house?
nothing, as far as that goes, this is nothing different than when we ask people to evacuate for a hurricane or anything like that. They need to take their emergency supplies with them. They need to make sure they have enough that will last them 4 or 5 days, because again, as the Chief Lucas said, it's undetermined, we're not really sure how long this, they may be away from home. So they need to bring their emergency supplies with them, whether they go, anywhere, whether it's a family, a hotel, or what have you. They need to bring those items with them for every member of their family. So this is really nothing different than a hurricane in that respect.
Clothing, medical.
Clothing.
About
Exactly.
photo IDs, things
Yes.
like that.
Medications.
Medication.
If they have any medications. If they download the Red Cross Emergency app, it's got all that on there with some other safety tips. It's also a shelter app on there where they can see what the nearest shelter open to them is.
So you haven't asked anyone specifically to evacuate yet? You're telling people to keep an eye on the water levels, is that right?
They are encouraging, the sheriff's deputies and so forth are encouraging people to leave, just like we've encouraged people to leave right now with this press conference. If
So,
they are impacted by any flooding, okay?
Yeah,
And some people will, have chosen to already leave on their own and go
and
someplace
is it
else.
in those areas you've listed
Yes.
before?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
so the sheriff's department already has asked people in there to leave, or
We've
suggested,
made it,
They've made the suggestion.
okay.
They're not
we're
telling
aware
them
of
to
the
leave.
situation.
Suggested they leave, and if they're not gonna leave, at least monitor the situation.
And we are reiterating that point.
Okay.
If anybody needs any assistance or has any questions, they can always call the Citizen Information Line here at the Emergency Operations Center, which is area code 3900. And if they get it answering a voicemail, please leave your name and contact information. Someone will get back to you.
Anyone else?
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
thank you very much.
Yes.